Welcome to Enlightened Game with Slim Sir, as he takes the lessons he learned from the streets, commonly known as the game, and applies them to everyday life, helping everyday people win the game of life, focusing on relationships, money, and the winner's lifestyle. This podcast will turn any chump into a champ. So if you're ready, let the game begin. And now, your host, the most valuable player himself, Slim Sir.
Welcome to Enlightened Game. I am your host, Slim Sir, and this is my audio notebook for the week before the election of 2020. And I want to give you some game about what's really going on with you. You know, a lot of times we focus on these news stories, we focus on celebrities, and we don't focus enough on ourselves. And that's what this whole podcast is about, is to give you the knowledge of self-image. Who are you? See, a lot of times, you know, let me just put it like this. Your life is a reflection of how much confidence you have in yourself or how much confidence you don't have in yourself. Looking at my own personal life, I realized that the accomplishments that I have reached is because I believe in myself. But that wasn't always the case. And when I go throughout the hood and I see people that's, hooked on drugs, alcohol, and all types of stuff, their lives are not where they want it to be, and I reason upon that, the only conclusion that you can reach is because people are where they are because of their lack of confidence or because they have confidence. So confidence is something that we really, really have to understand in order to win the game of life. Now, how do you build a strong self-confidence that's real solid and not arrogant at all? You know what I'm saying? Based on reality. Well, confidence is like a mathematical equation. If you've listened to me, you know that I said this many, many times. Confidence is the result of high self-esteem. And a high self-esteem is the result of a clear self-image, how you see yourself. And a clear self-image is the result of you defining who you are. Who the fuck are you? That's the question. You know, we like I said in the beginning, we spend a lot of time looking at other people, idolizing other people, admiring other people. But how much do you admire your fucking self? Very few of us admire ourselves. All of our attention is spent outwardly on other people, on other things, but very rarely do we turn our attention inward and look at the types of person that we are. And let me give you a heads up. When you turn inward and you start looking at yourself and you don't know what the fuck you're looking at, right? You're not certain what you're looking at, because that's what confidence means. Confidence means to be certain of something, to be sure of something, to have no doubt about something. So when you look at yourself and you're not confident, you're not sure of what you're seeing, you don't really feel good about yourself, that's simply because you haven't defined yourself. Straight up. And if you haven't defined yourself, that means that all of those influences that you are looking at and paying attention to outside of yourself have defined who you are. You know, a lot of times, especially in the black community, I know for me personally, growing up, my sense of identity was tied to hip hop. My sense of identity was tied to the hood. My sense of identity was tied to the things that I did and the things that I had, but not because of the person I was. And it couldn't be defined by the person I was because I didn't define who I was. You understand what I'm saying? So look, you're either going to define who you are, or you're going to let the world define who you are. And if the world defines who you are, then you're always going to be a slave. Think about that. You're a creation of other people when you don't define and create yourself. But when you do start to define and create yourself, you become the master of yourself. So now you have a choice. What are you going to be? You're going to be a slave to other people, or you're going to be a master to yourself. Now, we're going to get real deep in a second, right after this commercial break.
Listen up. I'm about to lay it down. I'm going to share some game with you, so pay attention. Ready? They say life is a you-know-what, and so is karma. Let me teach you what it means to be a PIMP of LIFE and a HOE with GAME. I'm talking about the first book of its kind, written by an ex-pimp, taking his negative past and turning it into a positive and powerful self-help program that anyone can learn and use. How to Pimp Life and Karma is a simple and easy system that thousands of people are using to get the best and the most out of their lives. This amazing ebook teaches you how to pimp your own life, how to mac your own money, and so much secret knowledge you'll be a sucker not to buy it and apply it. Slide over to slimsir.com and grab your copy of How to Pimp Life and Karma. That's SLIMSIR.com. Again, that's SLIMSIR.com. Slimsir.com.
Welcome back to Enlightened Game. I'm your host, Slim Sir, and we're talking about confidence. We're talking about confidence. Now, let me give you some background on myself. You know, I was in the streets, I was in the game, I was doing my thing. But just because you see a lot of people doing their thing doesn't necessarily mean that they have confidence in themselves. You know, I put myself in a lot of situations in life. You know what I'm saying? I let a lot of people take the lead in life, in my life, because I didn't have confidence in myself. I seen a lot of females in my life that weren't confident. And as a result, they listened to other people. They let other people define who they were. They let other people define what they do. And as a result, they let other people define what they have. Now, if you live your life like that and you're looking at your life and you don't have the things that you want, that means that you're not doing what you want. And if you're not doing what you want, that means that you're doing what everybody else wants you to do. That means that you're not your own person. You understand? That is indicative of you not having self-confidence. That's the reality. Now, a lot of people won't tell you that. You know what I'm saying? You see, when you see a lot of, especially pimps, man, because that's what I know about. Let's keep it real, okay? When you see a lot of these so-called pimps and they talking, you know, they exude a lot of what you would think is confidence. You understand what I'm saying? But let me tell you what my man taught me one day. He said, confidence is the result of being competent. And competence means that, you're good at doing something. Okay? Well, what are you good at doing? That's the question. See, whatever you're good at doing, you're going to have some competence in it, right? And it's going to develop confidence. It's going to make you feel good, right? Because you're good at doing something. But why are you good at doing it? That's the question. You're only good at doing something or not good at doing something because of how you see yourself. Straight up and down. You see, a lot of us in the hood, a lot of us grew up in low income situations. And then we began to define ourselves by our circumstance. You know what I'm saying? We began to define who we are as people based on our surroundings. And that is a false premise. You see, real confidence doesn't come from the things that you do or things that you have or don't have. Real confidence comes from who you are as a person. And what I've realized in dealing with a lot of people on social media, dealing with a lot of people in real life, the average person don't know who the fuck they are. So I want to ask you a question. Who the fuck are you? You know what I'm saying? You're listening to this on YouTube right now, right? Who are you? Have you ever sat down with a piece of paper and a pen and defined who you were as a person? Defined the type of person who you wanted to be? I want you to do that. I want you to take a piece of paper and a pen and just write down the type of person that you would like to become. And after you've written all of that down and you've analyzed and you thought about it and you were sure about what you wrote down on that piece of paper, then I want you to think about the next step. What do you have to do in order to be that person that you wrote down? You see, if you don't create yourself, you're a creation of other people. But when you do create yourself, when you do define who you are, when you do clarify who you are as an individual, then you'll begin to have the real foundation for what it takes to feel good about yourself. You can't feel good about yourself unless you create yourself. You can't feel good about yourself if you were created and got your own self-image and ideas about who you are from everybody except for you. Who the fuck are they to define who you are? But more importantly, who the fuck are you to give up your power of self-creation to other people? I want to ask you a question. What are you feeding yourself mentally? You know what I'm saying? Are you defining who you are? Are you telling yourself good things about yourself? You know what I'm saying? How do you feel about yourself? These are real questions that real adults have to ask themselves. And so if we're going to be talking about confidence, we're going to talk about self-esteem, we're going to talk about self-image, we're going to talk about defining yourself, that takes work, man. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But the process begins right now when you start getting that piece of paper and writing down who you want to be as a person. Now, a lot of you out there that hit me up, especially the females, which I think is very, very sad. You define yourself by how you look. How big your titties are, how fat your ass is, how pretty your face is, how long your hair is. But the reality of that is, guess what? That's going to change over time. And the older that you get as a female, if you've defined who you are based upon how you look, then your value will depreciate over time as you get older. So if you're defining who you are, I'm speaking of women, but a lot of dudes think this way too. If you're defining who you are based on how you look, you know what I'm saying? And that changes, then guess what's going to happen? How you see yourself and how you feel about yourself is going to change. And if how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself determines your confidence level, you're going to start to lose. That's the reality. A lot of dudes define themselves by the things that they have and the things that they do, not because of who they are. And when they look at the type of person that who they are, 9 times out of 10, motherfuckers don't really like themselves, man. And that's what this whole podcast is about. Getting you to like you. You know what I'm saying? I always ask the question, man, if your life can be embodied as a person, you can look at that person. Would you like that person? Would you like do you like your life? And if your life was a person, would your life like you? That's something real, real deep, man. The only time your life is going to like you and the only time you're going to like your life is when you make your life to order, when you define yourself. You know what I'm saying? When you go to a restaurant, you order what you like. You tell them specifically what you like and they bring back what you like. And if it's not what you like, then you send it back until they get it right. And so that's what I want you to do with yourself. Define who you are exactly. You know what I'm saying? Put it out into the universe. It's going to come back to you. And you're going to be so happy because you created yourself. Well, peep game, I only got 24 seconds. So I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. I want to encourage you to go to slimsir.com and listen to our other podcasts. And then, purchase our audio lessons, our ebooks. And reach out to me on Instagram at The Real Slim Sir. And let's chop it up. Until then. Thank you so much for listening. Peace.